If you want to study Japanese or you've already started, you will face kanji sooner or later. When I first even thought about learning Japanese, I heard so many people say like, oh, you'll be fine with just learning hiragana and katakana, you don't need to learn all of those kanji. And I was like, yeah, obviously I'm not gonna learn all of those characters, like I'm just gonna stick to the easy stuff. And then other learners don't shy away from scaring you. They're like, oh, you need to know 5,000 kanji and 300 different readings to be able to read even it like a child's book. So I was proper scared before I even began doing anything. And now that I've been studying for a little over a year, it actually turns out not to be as scary as I thought. And kanji will actually make your life easier, believe it or not. So what is kanji anyway? So Japan has 3 writing systems. There is hiragana for Japanese words, katakana for words borrowed from other languages, and kanji. These are characters adopted from Chinese, so that is why they have 2 or more readings usually. Onyomi for Chinese readings and kunyomi for Japanese. So why is learning kanji so important? Well, first of all, it makes reading so much easier. There are no spaces in Japanese sentences, so if you were to write a whole sentence using just hiragana and katakana, you would not know where the word starts and ends if you don't know this word. For example, compare these 2 sentences, this one with kanji and the same sentence but without kanji. This one looks much more difficult because you literally don't know like what's happening here. And a second reason, probably even more important, is that kanji gives meaning to the words. So there could be like 2 or more words that sound exactly the same. If you were to write it in just hiragana, you will not know what word this is. Even the word kanji itself can be written in these many different ways, and each of them means different thing, but pronunciation is exactly the same, the word kanji. And it's very interesting how when you first start learning Japanese, when you are reading something, your eyes just naturally go towards the characters you know, so romaji in the beginning. And then when you are more comfortable with the alphabets, your eyes will gravitate towards the hiragana and katakana, because your brain and your eyes are like, why would I read these romanized characters if this is the proper word, it's how it's supposed to be written, and it's easier to read this way because it's less characters and like I understand this. And then when you start learning kanji, your brain and your eyes will be like, oh, why would I need to read furigana under the kanji if I know this kanji and it's easier to read and it makes total sense. Like you will definitely feel the difference the more you learn, as I did. And speaking of learning, here are some tips to learn kanji effectively. Start with the basics. Obviously. Even before I began studying kanji or even Japanese, I heard and saw like videos and people talk about how easily memorize kanji, and the most popular advice was probably the one that certain kanji look exactly as the thing that they mean. So for example, this is a tree, many trees is forest, this is a river, this is a fire. They look as what they represent. And while it's true for some of the kanji, most of them look nothing as the thing that they mean, especially since so many kanji is not just one character but a lot of different things combined. And the thing I've never heard anyone talk about were the radicals. And when I first even saw this word, I was like, no, please stop it. Not again, not another system, a writing system that I have to learn. And I was like, no, I'm not even gonna like explore what this thing is. I'm just gonna stick to the things that I want to learn, like hiragana, katakana and stuff. And it slowed me down so much. If I knew what this was, I would have probably known much more kanjis now. So what is it? Basically, these are just building blocks of kanji. So if you take any kanji, you can separate it in different things which combined mean this word or something. So for example, if you take just this kanji, it means knife or a sword, and it looks like a sword handle, right? But if you take this kanji, you can see that it's combined out of 2 characters. And if you already know the numbers, you will know that this kanji means 7. So if you have 7 and a sword, 7 swords, what can you do with it? You can cut something. And that's the meaning of this kanji. Which leads me to another thing, using mnemonics. Mnemonics is like the best thing ever. You basically just create a story or a thing around a character and it makes it much easier to remember, as I said. For example, this kanji, for me, it looks like a let's say a shelf for the books above, and then a shelving unit or a little console table or something in the middle, and it stands on two legs. These are all the things that I bought myself or will buy for these shelves, right? And the meaning of it is buy. So basically all you need to do is to just break it down into radicals and come up with a story for a radical or for a kanji. And you can do it on your own, but if you struggle with that, you can also look them up online, or you can use like apps or books. For example, Remembering Kanji by James Heisig. Sorry if I'm butchering that. I haven't read the whole book myself, but I flipped through it and it looks like a very good start for a beginner because it explains it in more in depth and provides its own stories. Stroke order. Each kanji has a certain stroke order you need to follow. I personally always do my best to follow the correct one because I genuinely think that it makes it much easier to write. It just feels right and it goes very smoothly, and I'm so used to it at this point that whenever I see someone just write it willy-nilly, it makes my blood boil a little bit. But is it like mandatory to know the stroke order to be able to write? Obviously not. As long as it has all of the strokes needed and it's readable, you can do whatever you want with it. But I really do recommend you look up the correct stroke order when you are practicing writing, because it does make things much easier. You can easily look it up online by just using the Google search or online dictionaries like G-Show and stuff like that. Or if you are studying using an app, it will probably have it in there already. I have already talked about this in one of my previous videos, but I personally use MochiKanji App to study Japanese vocabulary and kanji, and they have recently introduced a new feature to learn kanji. So if you click the right button, it will take you to a set of kanji, and they're all divided by levels. So I am currently on level N4, and if you click on any kanji you want to learn, it will show you an animation of the stroke order, as well as onyomi and kunyomi readings, and also the related words you can learn with this kanji. And if you click start learning, it will also guide you through a correct stroke order to study how to draw this kanji. So you do it a bunch of times. They also gradually disappear until you are left on your own and you have to write it yourself. And then after that, you can also add the words using this kanji to your vocabulary to practice later, which I think is a very cool way to study. And for a more stubborn and like more complex kanji, I've recently also started to write them on paper a bunch of times, because I don't know, just maybe the constant repetition and something is there, like on hand on paper, makes it burn into my brain. And also I can take my sweet time in creating a story or context to the kanji and radicals and stuff like that. And I just can do this extra study while I wait for my notification from the Mochi app, because they use the spaced repetition technique. So basically the app calculates the perfect time for you to revise, and it sends you a notification when you and your brain are ready to receive the information and contain it. There are also 5 levels of memorization, from level 1, the word that you just learned, till level 5, the words that are already in your long-term memory. And if you click the learn button and this little shelving unit in the top right corner, you will see the set of courses the MochiKanji app offers. So N5, N4, and 3 and 2, and then nursing vocabulary, IT vocabulary, Mina no Nihongo, by the way, too, if you're studying by that book. And if you choose a course, for example, I'm on N4 right now, you will see that there are many lessons divided into bite-size vocabulary you can do in like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes a day. So for example, let's do a little lesson together. At first you will be introduced to a set of flashcards which have a Japanese word on one side and then the translation and a little illustration on the other side, and then you can continue to learn it or you can skip it. And then you will have a bunch of little quizzes for you to memorize this word more easily. It will have the audio and the sample sentences. There will also be a kanji you can practice. And then when you're done with that, it will be updating your golden time and will notify you when you are ready to revise these. And when the golden time is over, you can review your words, and we'll also have different quizzes in English, Japanese, build a word. You can use keyboard or you can write it all by yourself. You can click I don't remember the word if you actually don't. There's also a new feature called conversation, so you can choose a topic you want to talk about, let's say ask for help, and you can talk with a little AI Mochi and Michi. And it's not like an actual natural conversation, but it does prepare you in a way for it. It also has its own built-in J dictionary, so whenever you need to find a word, you can just type it here in romaji, kanji, hiragana, katakana, whatever. So let's say tabemono. And you can find it here in Japanese, kanji, translation to English, and a sample sentence and an audio, which is really handy. And one little thing to keep your motivation up is a mochi garden when you can plant a tree and take care of it by learning new words. MochiKanji is a longtime friend and supporter of this channel, and I genuinely love their app, so if you want to check it out for yourself, I will leave the link in the description, but also you can find it yourself by going to Google Play, App Store, their website, and just look for MochiKanji Learn Japanese. Contextual learning is very, very important whenever you're studying any new language, not just Japanese. So start reading in Japanese. You can start with simple texts, children books or manga, and you will definitely learn the most common beginner-friendly kanji very fast. And what I love about this especially is that you also are learning the readings, possibly multiple, without actually sitting down and studying and trying too hard to memorize it. And of course, try to immerse yourself into the Japanese culture more and more. If you're watching anime, try watching dramas. If you are watching that, try something else. News, Instagram, music, try everything and see these kanji in context. So for example, right now I'm watching the drama called, by the way, in my language, we also say dorama, but I feel like in English, you don't say it like this. You just say drama. Is that right? Let me know if it sounds weird. So I'm watching the I Love You drama. First of all, highly recommend. But second of all, sometimes when they say simple things or things that I want to know or something like this, I just switch the subtitles to Japanese and hear them say it again and read the subtitles. So just, seeing it in context. Also, I followed a ton of artists, actors, and singers on Instagram, and I do my best to read their posts, even though it's super hard because they're not trying to simplify it for people like me, but it's still a fun way to stay in the loop of learning and seeing the language every single day. And last thing is track your progress and review stuff consistently, because I don't know about you, but seeing the progress makes me even more motivated to study. So I will do revision sessions once a week or once a month to see what I've learned during this time and how many new kanji I've learned specifically. You can do all sorts of tests. You can just find an online test, or you can just write it down on a piece of paper, like whatever you remember. I am sometimes writing little letters to my friends and stuff like that. I've also created a Discord group where we try to talk in Japanese. Not many people are super active, so if you want to talk in Japanese a little bit more, you can join it. I will also leave the link in the description. And yeah, I guess that's it. I hope it was at least a little bit helpful, and good luck with your studies. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.